reported that Bill Belichick met with the Falcons for 3.5 hours yesterday. That one was kind of curious for some of us. Is Bill just not really going to say no to any interviews? He's going to just kind of see what everything is going on. And then Dallas is kind of the one that everyone's pointing to. Mike McCarthy goes 12-5 for 3 years, but they really don't have any success past the wild card weekend. What do you expect there? And then also, what is Bill Belichick even doing spending 3.5 hours? Can't he just walk in and be like, hey, 28-3, bitch, I should be the coach? Or,
does he wear the rings too?
Yeah. Does he wear the rings into the room? Like, does he just say, you guys are losers, I'm a winner, give me the job? Like, how does that process go? 'Cause picturing him walking in with a tablet, like nervous to show his hand, doesn't really make sense as far as outside looking in, assuming that Bill is going in there with somewhat of a plan if it's lasting 3.5 hours.
Well, look, when he went in there, it's about learning as much about Arthur Blank as Arthur Blank is learning about him and what the problems Arthur Blank views as with the Atlanta organization and how he views the structure of what he thinks needs to stay, what needs to go, what direction they need to go. It's really about, can I set up my program? What are the positives? What are the negatives of the place? And it's a relationship between him and the owner, because wherever he goes, there's not going to be any of those what the mafia calls buffers. There's no buffers in this. This is going to be the owner talking directly to him.
Hell yeah.
And he talking directly to the owner, right? So there's nobody in between. And that has to be a relationship that is comfortable. And I think the 3.5 hours were spent trying to understand one another and understand where he needs to go with his football team. It's a data collection. These things are marriages. You just can't rush into it. This isn't speed dating or the senior bachelor. You got to spend some time on this thing and understand what the hell's going on. And I think that was, and I'm sure there'll be another meeting down the road to go over more of if this takes another step. So I think it's kind of a discovery. Whenever you do a court case, you have discovery. I think this is really what the stage is. If it gets to stage 2, now we're talking about getting something serious. All right, let's talk about Dallas. All right, Jerry fired Chan Gailey after 2 wild cards, okay? After the season, he fired him. And then, then that went from Chan Gailey to Dave Campo. Campo was 5-11 for 3 years in a row. He fired him. That was it. Hires Parcells. Parcells goes 10-6, 6-10, and has 2 9-7 season. He leaves, right? Brings Wade Phillips in, fires Wade Phillips midway through, I think, his 3rd season, hires Jason Garrett. Then Garrett has those 9.5 years of good year, bad year, good year, bad year, and then fires him after the divisional round. And so it's not usually Jerry's nature to fire somebody other than Gailey after he's been so successful. But, when you get to the point in your life where you decide maybe I need to make a change, I think if you're Jerry, you're sitting there saying my quarterback has played the best he's ever played. Now, there's more than just Dak played poorly and McCarthy wasn't good on Sunday. Their defense wasn't any good either. They couldn't stop a very explosive Green Bay attack. And I almost got the sense that I don't think, when LaFleur said, I want the ball, he basically told the Cowboys, you guys are nothing but a bunch of front runners. I get ahead of you, I'll beat you. I mean, that's the way I looked at it. Like, I'm going to take the lead and make you play from behind.
And 12
and it's going to be the same thing in San Francisco because they know going in the 4th quarter, they know the Kyle Shanahan stat. They know the 49ers stat. They're going to want to play from in front. And I think as the Cowboys are front runners, I think they got to ask themselves that question and then have that conversation. This is a unique time in NFL history. There's never been this many great coaches who have been successful out there in the market.
Especially if Mike Tomlin's potentially available. We are not – could you imagine Tomlin's name now getting ahead of this?
Well, but he has a year on a contract, so now he falls into the Sean Payton category. So he would have to –
Unless you don't want to deal with the time it takes.
Yep.
Like Amy Strunk said, don't want to deal.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, those are hard trades to work out. And I don't think the Steelers – I think the Steelers want Mike Tomlin back. I can't imagine a world they don't.
But again, what if Mike Tomlin –
That's the Rooney's.
You know what?
It ain't Amy. All right.
The Rooney's been around a long time. They've been doing wheeling and dealing, especially back in a horse race, and that's how they got into this entire thing.
Consistency is all they care about.
But could you fathom if Mike Tomlin's name is added to this Hall of Fame coaching carousel that's currently taking place. It's like it'll be debunking a lot of things. You said that's not Jerry's MO, and it's like, well, it's not the MO for the NFL to have 5 Hall of Fame coaches available in the same offseason. Let's get back to the Dallas Cowboys a little bit here and Bill Belichick. So, and Ty's going to ask you about Green Bay. I'm excited for that conversation. I think a lot of Packers fans are as well. But whenever you think about 24 years, he's going to take an interview with anybody, right? He's gonna listen to anybody, you think, or he's only going to places like, why would Atlanta be a place that he would want to go to other than the owner? Because the NFC South, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot to like about Atlanta, right? I mean, they've been to a Super Bowl. They play in the South. They have great facilities, the stadium. They have the ability to the NFC. You don't have to play against elite quarterbacks. Baker played really well last night. You got Carr in New Orleans. You got Bryce Young there. So there's really not a roadblock if you can build a good team, which I think is really important. But more than anything, these guys that are out that have won games and have a track record and have been to Super Bowls and won Super Bowl, the owner is the most important person in the building. That's the most important person in the building. The logo doesn't matter. The owner matters the most. And so that's really what this is about. I can't imagine Bill would take an interview, and I'm not going to speak for him, but could he get interested in Carolina? Boy, from the outside, that doesn't look like that would be a place where his culture could be established from the beginning. So I think anybody who calls, like, he's not speed dating here. It's like, he's not going out there. It's going to have to be, here's where I'm looking, and if you want to take this another step, we'll have a meeting.
When Jason Garrett said after the game on Football Night in America, I guess on Sunday there, because he called the game Saturday night.
Yep.
I like Jason Garrett on TV, by the way. Just want to let everybody know. I like Jason Garrett on television. I think he does a good job. Lombo, seemingly with the look off camera the way you just did there, I don't know if you're the biggest fan.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes, he's been in the room with Jerry. I listened to that interview. He's been in the room. NBC's paying him a lot of money. Give us exactly what Jerry's talking about. He knows Jerry better than anybody.
Because what he said was...
He wasn't at the Iowa caucus this week, Jason. Like, he doesn't have to give an answer. He can say what he thinks, right?
So
he
said,
knows it.
Jason Garrett said, just so people that didn't hear it, Jason Garrett said over the next 48 hours, Jerry Jones is going to be there for the coaches and the players. Then over the next couple of weeks, he's going to have to decide what is going to be best for the team, and he's going to make change, inevitably, because this is not going to be good enough for Jerry Jones. But he didn't give a specific about anything. I don't know if you heard more or less from Jason Garrett, but that was basically what Jason Garrett said. Right. Jerry Jones, you think, has already had a conversation with Bill? Hey, Bill, how's it going? And Bill tells him, or no? You don't think any of that? Like, how do you think that kind of unfolds?
Look, I think there's a lot of back politics going on right now. I think there's back channel conversations from a lot of different teams. But here's what I would say. I think Jason knows that Steven is really the pragmatist within that relationship, and Stephen and Jerry are going to sit down and break away and decide, where are we? The fundamental thing now, because of the shift and these coaches available, it's not about what are we going to do next year, is where do we see our team in 3 years? Where do we see us going? And I think anytime you talk to an owner after a game, win or lose, it's not good. I remember we used to have a saying in Cleveland with Art Modell as the owner. If we're lining up to kick a field goal, and if we make this field goal, everybody gets 10-year contracts. If we miss it, everybody's fired. I mean, that's how delicate the balance is between good and bad. So I take anything an owner says after a game, you got to temper it down a little bit. But I think if you know Jerry's personality and you know his will to win, he's got huge cap issues coming up. He's got to sign Parsons. He's going to redo Dak's deal. He's going to sign Lamb. All right, so now he's going to have a team much like the Rams, okay, where they're paying a lot of great players, but they're going to have to utilize a lot of their draft picks and other players. And you need a coach who's going to develop the talent from within. If you think it's Mike, go ahead, keep him. If you don't, look somewhere else.
Who do you think would be the best developer of talent out there? All of them? I guess that's why they're all Hall of Fame coaches.
I mean, Vrabel's proven that. I mean, look, Vrabel's gone. How many years did the Titans go without a draft pick? I mean, he's out there going into overtime with Malik Willis at quarterback, and they got one first down after the second quarter. I mean, seriously. I mean, that's a hell of a – I mean, that tape should go in the Hall of Fame. That should be in Canton. So I think all of them can, because they understand it. They understand how to – you need young players to play. Look at Green Bay. Green Bay's a perfect example of this is what Parcells used to talk about all the time. They call them progress stoppers. When coaches bring in veteran guys, when they have a young player – Walsh said this too. Walsh would always say to me, look, I'd rather lose a game in September and win one in December playing a young kid, because he wanted to get that young player ready to go. These young receivers are dynamic. They're dynamic. And they're playing well because they've played. They've got an opportunity to play. Whereas if you're playing older players out there who really know what to do but can't do it, now you're not developing talent. And if you have a cap situation like Dallas is going to have, which I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, is you're going to have a lot of good young players and a coach that can develop them.
So I appreciate you bringing up the Packers there at the end of this thing.